So, welcome to 2022 in a few days. How was your Christmases?
The Christmases went well.
You are such a liar because we're taping this before Christmas has even
I'm
come.
guessing
That
it
was a
was.
test and you failed. But actually, we are close to
Optimistic.
the end of the year, and I'm curious in what was your highlight for 2021?
That's a good question.
I think for me, one of the highlights was just seeing people come back to the church and week after week see more people venture out. And with Omicron virus now, we're wondering what's going to happen next. But it's just nice to have people. I remember preaching with nobody in the room, not even you. You left me.
True.
It's just me and the Holy Spirit, and even he was yawning.
Yeah. That probably was. I agree with that one. I think a personal highlight for me was I created a greenhouse this year, so that was interesting and a whole learning process. But a highlight around here was more so just seeing how people were so committed through the process this year of the shifting changes and how many people just rose to the occasion to help volunteer in so many different roles around the church. So that was one of the highlights.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me around here, it was probably around the youth coming back. So we did the outside, braved the cold even into November and December, but just being able to connect and have conversations. And then, of course, that youth play that they did. I did not know how that was going to come off, and the kids pulled it together.
Amazing.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
Those wise men were my favorites, I think. Just
The
they're
wise guys.
traveling, the traveling wise guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was a great culmination of the year for the
Yeah.
youth. I loved it.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was as a team being forced together more this year. And I think it just helped us grow our relationship with each other and depend on each other more. And that was certainly a highlight for me.
Yeah. We decided what we would do is introduce today's service just by a little bit of banter, and I haven't told any of these guys what I'm going to ask them. And it would be very bad of me to put anybody on the spot because I would never do that to my staff.
Never.
And so I just want to ask
Pick
Sherry
Wayne. Oh no, pick Wayne.
if you could just tell me one of the announcements that you'd like to announce.
One of the announcements, something coming up this year in 2022. So excited to keep on with youth on Wednesday nights.
Nice.
All right, so
Smooth.
that'll still be going on. Wednesday nights is going to become like family night here at the church when we get everybody back together. So really looking forward to carving Wednesday nights out for everybody. So there's a plug for everybody on your calendar to make
Fantastic.
that happen.
Wayne, do you have an announcement?
A couple announcements. I know on January the 2nd, we're going to be having a guest speaker. So we'll be looking forward to that. And my announcement is I won't be here the week after January the 2nd. I'll be on sabbatical. So I appreciate the time away and people not connecting with me. I appreciate that. No, but I do look forward to returning in end of April. So.
And you'll be a master by the time you can return.
Yeah, I'll be a master's working
Master
on my master's
Wayne.
degree. Yeah, that's right. So.
Do you have an announcement for us?
I think that was all we had.
No.
Oh,
No, there's one
what-
more.
what?
Tell us it. Okay, well, I'll tell
You're
you
on the
that in
spot.
March we're going to offer Alpha again. And the last Alpha went very well, and we're hoping that many others will join. If you've never watched an Alpha, many people maybe think of Alpha when it was first produced years ago. The new Alpha videos are fantastic, and it's a great way to introduce people who are seeking to the spirituality of Christianity. And so if you have a friend like that, you may want to invite them, and you can be praying about that now for March when we launch that. So this is our Boxing Day service. Always on the Sunday after Christmas, we have a time for telling stories. But not so often do we get a chance to say something directly to the congregation. And so I wonder if there's something that you would like to say to the congregation as we wrap up our announcements for this recorded service.
Well, this is very dangerous, but I could say a lot because I just think we have such an amazing church family, helping each other, the stories that we get to hear in the office of people who have done little things, their own initiative for others. I think that our seniors are, bar none, the most amazing seniors in Canada, if not the world, who reach out to others and are giving and are showing that seniors are significant and valuable and important in lives. And I just so appreciate our seniors. And of course, I love the kids and the youth, and they are the best ever, always. So
I would say that recognizing that most of the ministry happens outside our church and happens with each of you. And we're so delighted to be able to hear stories of how each of you serve one another. And it reminds me of a verse that if we do not give up, we know that our labor is not in vain, but that in due time we will reap a harvest. And I believe God is bringing not only people here to be ministered to, but in your neighborhoods that you can minister to. So do not give up. 2022 is a time to see God bring in some harvest.
I think I would just like to say thank you to the church. This church has loved us extremely well. You're gracious, you're grateful, and I just want you to know that we feel that, and we're very blessed to be here.
Yeah. And I would echo everything that's been said by them. These last 2 years with COVID has been hard on our staff. And I have deeply appreciated each of you because I know what you put in each day, and I know how you feel. We've had lots of days where we didn't want to be here, and we've just had to rally around one another, give each other grace, but also encourage one another.
And chocolate
helps. And chocolate and coffee and home baking that people brought in and stuff like that. But our congregation also have been people who have felt those same fluctuations of emotions and having to change and pivot. And pivot is a word I am so tired of. And yet you have been faithful and reliable and dependable to us and to serve each other. And like Sherry said, there's so many stories that we're not able to tell, but we have the privilege of hearing. I wish we could tell the stories because it would just warm your heart. But there are stories today, so we hope you enjoy this episode of our Boxing Day Testimony Sunday. God bless you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Perfect.
So there should be plenty of content there. Yeah.
Way to throw questions at us.
Yeah, no way to answer. Each Sunday following Christmas, we usually have an open mic, a time for people to share stories about what God has been doing in their lives. But as with everything else that COVID has touched, this Sunday, we have had to pivot our open mic Sunday. We're still having stories, but we had to pre-record them along with the rest of the service. I suspect that I'm probably going to be sitting in my pajamas on my basement couch watching this, just as I suspect that you're doing in your homes. I trust that your Christmas was memorable and meaningful as you celebrated with family and friends, and as you took pause to consider the Savior whose birth we were celebrating. I don't know about you, but I love when we tell stories as a church family. I was reading a book the other day, and it said that story is the only way to know another person. I think he's right. And so it's no wonder that the Bible tells a story about God, a story which reveals God's character, his purpose, and his nature. And it's not simply a story about God. It is God's story about his relationship with our world. Stories provide intimate insights into the life of another person. This is why when people tell mere facts, we can find our minds drifting along with a wide-mouthed yawn. But when someone tells a story, it's as if they are reliving the moment, and it draws us in, it moves us, it reaches our minds and our hearts. The other thing that is interesting about stories is that the stories we tell shape us. The story we live out of matters greatly. And this is why part of what it means to be a follower of Jesus is to learn to understand our lives from the perspective of God's story. When I understand my life as having been rescued and redeemed by the God of heaven, if I recognize the innumerable ways that God has been reaching out to me and leading me, protecting me, and shaping me, it changes my perspective on my circumstances. The great missionary to India, Leslie Newbigin, said, "But when the biblical story is not the one that controls our thinking, then inevitably we shall be swept into the story the world tells about itself." When we take time to tell the stories of God at work in our lives, it helps us to counteract the droning monologue of the world's story that lives as if God was not alive and active in our world. Jesus said in John 3, "Very truly I tell you, no one can see the kingdom of God unless they've been born again." We who have been born again have a unique perspective that others cannot see. While it is foreign to the world, we see where God is at work, and we have the privilege of telling the stories of God at work. And yes, there are many days when we just aren't paying attention or we fail to reflect on where God might have been working. But there are other times when we take time to consider, or perhaps it's just so obvious that God has been with us and acting in our lives. So, Open Mic Sunday is a time where we encourage people to look back over the year and consider what God has been doing and then to tell the story. As I look back at the year in the life of the church, one of the ways I've seen God at work has been in our partnerships. This year, we were able to rent out our parking lot to a group of people called the Pedalheads to provide a summer camp for our kids using an often underutilized area of our property to help parents who are struggling to find programs for the kids. This fall, we partnered with Wellspring Church to provide an online Alpha course, which saw several people from the community attend and whose lives were changed. We partnered with the Optimist Club to provide a trunk or treat event for children in our neighborhood. We partnered once more with McMaster Divinity College to have Hannes Oberholzer as our student intern, who has served NBBC well, working with our kids as well as with our other ministries. We have worked in partnership with the City Hall to encourage and support their Neighborhood Connections program to help create supportive, safe, and caring neighborhoods across Burlington. Our partnerships with the Canadian Baptist Ministries has helped us to care for those around the world who face devastation, life-threatening circumstances, including people in Lebanon through the Boutros family and our special Advent fundraising event. We are in partnership with 2 internet television providers to share our conjugal service production in other parts of the world: Burlington Food Share, Savas, Family Matters Counseling, Burlington Suzuki Music, the South Asian Seniors Association, Gospel Asian Outreach Church are all valuable partners in helping NBBC to minister both locally and globally in our world. We may think that NBBC simply offers a Sunday service, but the truth is that God is using us. He uses us as individuals, and He uses us as a significant institution of the fiber of the city of Burlington. And on this Sunday, we get to look back and tell the stories. I hope you will enjoy them.
In your life, I'm sure you've found that the right gift can make a real difference. Through the Hopeful Gifts Church campaign, you can make a significant impact in the lives of the most vulnerable around the world and witness to your local community concerning what it looks like to love like Jesus. Lebanon faces the worst of challenges in decades: political instability, social unrest, and the economy is in a deep state of collapse. The decade-long refugee crisis resulting from the war in Syria, ongoing recovery from the Beirut port explosion, and the added pressure of dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and government instability has placed the people of Lebanon in a vulnerable state of drastic change and insecurity. CBM is supporting the work of Arab Baptist Theological Seminary to equip leaders who will proclaim the gospel and serve in a complex, sometimes hostile context. ABTS has also provided support for people who are still struggling after the explosion with cleanup, food distribution, and counseling for people in need. Local church leaders, many trained at ABTS, are addressing the Syrian refugee relief efforts. CBM is subsidizing local Lebanese partners' social services and urgent healthcare needs, as well as teaching about disease prevention and hygiene regarding the pandemic. Lebanon is experiencing such a broad crisis that resources will be needed to help in almost every possible way. Well-equipped leadership is key to renewal, and so is resourcing local ministry to meet needs. Thank you for considering the Hopeful Gifts Church campaign. Your gift will make a real difference in Lebanon by equipping leaders and resourcing communities. Visit lebanon.hopefulgifts.ca to support your church's campaign and give a gift of hope.
I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. Man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and brought me back together. Afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you've seen them all and still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can.
So, Ariane, here we are, and welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you here today. And many of the people at NBBC probably won't know you. If they will, they've been at least around for a couple of years. But I invited you on here today because I know a little bit about your story and your travels here to Canada. And I thought maybe it would be an encouraging thing for the rest of us to hear a little bit about your story, how you came to Canada, and what kind of position you were in, and then maybe 2 years later now, since you've been here, kind of what life looks like for you. So maybe start us from the beginning when you first came to
Well,
Canada.
So at the beginning, I was in Italy. I was working with my wife. I have a beautiful family,
Mhm.
2 kids,
Awesome.
a son and daughter. And yeah, so no one was encouraging me to come here. So I was like the only one, and maybe my mother was
Okay.
the only person thinking about, okay, maybe you can do it.
Hmm.
But I feel inside me something different. So I was like, maybe for us there is better. There is something better.
What was
So
going on at the time?
What was going on at the time was very hard because we were working, both of us, in Italy. The thing wasn't too good, to be honest.
Hmm.
I mean, I was thinking about a better future for my kids.
Right.
And no one was saying to me, okay, this is the right thing to do. But I feel this inside me.
Inside
So
you,
I
yeah.
decided to do it anyway, to leave my job,
Mm.
to leave my position, even I had a good position over there.
Mm.
And to try, even if I was almost 34 years at the time, 33, 34.
Mhm.
So it was like and yeah, I decided. I start for myself, searching on how to do it.
Hmm.
So I got this possibility to work in Canada for 6 months.
Okay.
So I came here. I stay with them like for 1 week.
Yep.
And then I decided to come in Burlington because it was Sofina.
Right.
And,
Sofina Foods.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like close my position I do in Italy.
Mm.
The job I was doing in
Right.
Italy.
Right.
And the first day I came
So
here.
you were here by yourself, actually, when you first came, right? You left
Yeah.
your family was still back
Yeah,
home
still,
in
they
Italy.
were
Yeah.
still back home. So
Yeah.
I went to Sofina and
Mhm.
I applied for a job position.
Yeah.
And in 15 minutes they called me back. So they say, hey, we have already a position for you, so
Wow.
you can come working tomorrow morning. And I was like, oh God, what are we gonna do now?
Yeah.
Because my cousin is up in Vaughan,
Long ways away.
a long way. The shift starting 6 a.m.
Woo.
So I asked God why I'm here. So what's the point? I come too far and I can do nothing.
So you got a job in Burlington. You were staying in Vaughan.
I was grateful for that, but
Yeah, for
inside me
sure.
I was afraid.
What am I gonna
was
do?
afraid. What am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
I don't have a car. I don't have nothing. So I was just walking, and God stopped me here, in this church, right in front here.
Like you were walking by, or
I was just walking, but I don't have any point to go. So I was just walking. I was afraid inside me.
Mhm.
And yeah, so you are the first person I meet here,
Mhm.
if you remember.
I do remember that.
You
day.
remember?
Yeah, yeah,
At the time,
yeah.
I asked if you know someone who can host me at least for a couple of days because I didn't know what to do at the moment. I was really, really afraid.
Yeah.
Really scared.
Yeah.
My family far away. I'm alone here. I do not know one. I was so kind of you
Mm.
to introduce me to Jim and
to
Kim.
Jim, yeah,
to
and
Jim.
Kim, yeah, members
Amazing
of the church
people.
here, yeah,
Yeah, the member of the church.
Yeah.
They were so kind to host me because in the beginning, if you remember, the plan was for a few days.
A few days for sure. That's all you were asking for
Yeah,
a few days.
because
yeah.
I was standing at the hotel
Right.
at the time. So
Yeah.
because I don't have any, and so I feel my life changed in that moment. My life changed for better.
Right.
For sure, I was so grateful, at least to have someone who showed me love, who give me love, actually, who give me everything.
Yeah.
Everything was new for me because I came from Italy. Well, it's very difficult to have people like Jim and Kim over there. I used to live there more than 20 years.
Right.
And in my life, I never meet people like them. To
People
be
that
honest,
would give so much.
that give so much for a stranger, for a
Yeah.
no one. I was no one at the moment.
To them, you were a no one. Yeah.
I was no one.
Yeah. You went from a moment of fear, of
For a
being
moment of
afraid of
fear.
like, what am I going to do?
Right. In a moment of love.
And you actually connected, or at least God led you to a place where He's like, hey,
yeah.
let me show you.
Let me show you something greater
Yeah.
for you. It's like I have a plan for you.
Hmm.
Just follow the situation. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
And,
Amazing.
Everything will change.
Yeah.
That was true. So everything changed in my life at that moment. Even I was trying to explain to my wife. So she was like, what? How is it possible?
She couldn't understand.
She
yeah.
can understand at the moment.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. But now she knows.
now she knows for sure.
So tell us a little bit about what was that process of obviously Jim and Kim taking you in, and then finding your own place. And I know you kind of you shifted a few different jobs just for certain reasons.
Yeah.
Lead us down that path, and then to the point where your family actually were able to come over.
Oh yeah. So after the first week they host me, so I was ready to prepare my suitcase.
Yeah.
And to came back to my cousin. So I said to them, I'm gonna go now, because what are you doing? Jim told me, I'm making my stuff ready because I need to go.
Yeah.
So I said, no, we don't go nowhere.
You're not going anywhere.
Where are you gonna go? So you are part of the family. So in my head I was like thinking, he's joking with me. It's like, okay, he's joking. I'm gonna do my stuff. I have to go because it's like in Italy, we are like, okay, you can stay 3 days like a host, and then
leave, please.
And leave, right?
Yeah.
So it was funny, but inside me, I was like, start to understand the process. I feel that love they give me, and I feel like, okay, you can do it because they are not playing with you, so they love you. Because inside me, I feel like I was like how are you gonna say in English? Like a heavy
burden, or like
heavy burden,
you were using them, or
you were using them.
Yeah. You had nothing really back to offer to them, probably much, right? Other than friendship and
And I understand it was a true love, and I decided to stay with them. I changed my position here at Sofina because I saw that this company was not willing to help me with the paper process and stuff.
Sure.
And Jim and Kim helped me that moment because they helped me to work in their farm in that moment, because I was without job, without my family, without no one here.
Yeah.
And they helped me with that. They helped me to bring here my wife for a couple weeks in vacation at the time. And
I remember meeting her. I think that was the vacation I met her for the first time.
She came actually here at the church.
Yeah.
We did one Sunday here together with my family. And it was life-changing. Even my wife understand. Yeah. Wasn't like just words. Or everything that I said to her was true. All the love was true. And God has always a different way for us. But we have to open our eyes, to open our heart, and to understand that even sometimes the situation is pretty bad, there is always hope, and there is always love that you have to follow.
So true. Yeah. And sometimes we resist that, or we just don't see it because we're just so much into our own thing.
Concentrated in our things that
What
we
we're
don't
doing.
believe there is around the world people that have a big heart
So tell me about what you're doing today and how life looks like for you these
Life
days.
is looking great to me. My
Amazing.
family is here. I
Awesome.
have a job. My wife is working.
Awesome. Oh,
My
wow.
kids
Nice.
going to school. Everything is changed.
Great.
Everything, and in better way. We have friends. We have
Yeah.
a
A
better
lot of
life,
Italian
a better
friends I
life.
hear.
A lot of Italian friends,
Yeah.
of course.
Yes.
Even I have to change for more friendship because I have to improve
No
my
English speaking.
Right?
Yeah,
No English
exactly.
speaking is very difficult.
That's right.
But anyway,
Well, you're always welcome here to learn your English.
Yes.
For sure.
for sure.
It's amazing how God can bring you even across the world to
So,
find newness in God, for sure, but through other people, through His
to
people
other people.
across the world. That's just an amazing
Sure.
thing. Well, Arian, thank you for sharing your story with us today, and we wish all God's blessings upon you and your family.
Thank you so
and
much.
the best for the future for 2022, even
Thank
better
you so
things.
much.
So, God
Thank you.
bless you.
God bless you, man.
Take care.
As I think back on 2021, there were lots of things that were different and unexpected, lots of change, lots of opportunity to do things in a new way, and room for growth that comes with the newness. So some of the things that I loved seeing were when we were able to have Sunday morning kids programs again, and we had the kids' church kids downstairs as well as the preschoolers, and having the leaders come back in spite of taking new steps for protocols in place to keep everybody safe and doing things a little differently, but finding that we had some new families that were joining us on Sunday mornings was really exciting. Our youth, of course, started Wednesday nights meeting outside in the evenings, and it was great to see so many kids showing up from the neighborhood, some of our faithful church kids, but lots of kids from the neighborhood. And we've had a few kids who came to Kids Club and have grown up with us and have continued to join with us for youth. And in fact, some of them took part in our youth play that happened earlier this month, which I hope you had a chance to see because it was spectacular. We had our youth involved in doing so many different things, from acting at the front that you could see, but also our stagehand, the lighting, the sound, all of those parts the kids were involved in. And lots of them are kids from our community who were drawing in and having opportunity to interact with. My favorite thing about Wednesday nights is not the craziness always. We have about 20 to 25 kids attending, a lot of boys. There's a lot of energy. Sometimes it feels like there's 200 kids with the amount of energy that we have going on. But I love those moments when there's opportunity for conversation, or when a kid says, "Can I help with something?" And they offer, and there's moments of connection. And having some real conversation where they talk about things that they're worried about or their fears. And those moments are what really make it special for me and feel like, God is at work in these little lives. It's such a privilege to interact with them. One of the things that Wednesday night has been a joy to see is Hannes, our intern from MAC, who has been connecting with our youth and really stepping up as he's been leading games, taking part with it, and building relationships. And he's continued those relationships on Sunday mornings as we've had our youth class on Sunday mornings. And again, there's been kids coming that are new from the community, and Hannes has really been working to build relationships with those kids. Also thinking about our youth, this year we had a grant from the CBOQ, recognizing that things are different, the world is changing, technology is increasingly important as we've gone through this time of COVID. So we were given some money to spend. And so we are able to have some more technology now in our youth room for our youth to do some gaming. So that was kind of a fun thing from the CBOQ, and we're just blessed in that way. Another grant we received from the CBOQ was for our elders to distribute to our congregation, recognizing that there were some special needs that had come about because of COVID. So our elders decided that we would take some of that money and give pizza cards to our young families, recognizing that our young families were really stressed with having to navigate their jobs, as well as kids being home, not getting out to activities, and doing online school with their children. So we gave them pizza dinners, and we had some wonderful stories of how it was just coming at the right time for some families to take a little bit of a break, to not have to worry about what they were going to prepare for meals that one night. We also use some of that grant money for some members in our church family who are often on the receiving end. Their finances are stretched a little bit thin, and who often don't have the opportunity to bless someone else. So the elders creatively came up with the idea of giving them 2 gift cards, one for them and one that they were to pass on to someone else, so that they could have the blessing of sharing resources with someone else who they might know that was in need. And one of the stories that we heard was a family was just wondering how they could bless their neighborhood when those gift cards came to them. And it was just a wonderful opportunity for them with their kids to share with others some of the blessings that they had received. At this time of year, the elders are honored to have the opportunity to share some of the financial resources that our church family has given into the Community Care Fund with some in our church family who would love to receive a little extra blessing at Christmas because they're not as fortunate financially. So we've been able to distribute some of the money for as Christmas gifts, as well as connecting with some of our seniors and shut-ins who've not been able to make it in person or we haven't seen in quite a while. But it's just a blessing to be able to act on behalf of our church family to keep everyone connected in this way. So on a personal note, as I reflect on 2021, I would just have to continue to say it's a delight and a pleasure and a privilege to serve with this church family. It's been a year full of change and innovation, but a lot of personal moments, a lot of individual connections, and slowing down. And so I hope that from out of this year, I can learn some of that, the slowing down part, and making sure we take time for those individual connections. And I look forward to what 2022 will bring with you, my church family.
Hannes, it's great to have you. This Sunday, we are focusing on stories and how God has been working in people's lives. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what brought you here, and as well as what you're doing there in school at McMaster.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me, Wayne. It's and good morning to everyone. It really has been a blessing to be a part of this community. So in terms of, to answer your question of, what am I doing at McMaster and things like that. So my current degree path is Christian history and worldview, and my reasons for taking it are to really kind of take ownership of my faith and, the history that we share as Christians to, bring this information to people in a meaningful way. People think of history as stuffy books or,
lots of dates and numbers and people's names. Yeah.
Dates, numbers, people's names that aren't relevant to us anymore, when the truth is that we have inherited all these things, and it sets up the social relationships that we have nowadays. So I felt a calling to learn the trajectory of Christian history and worldview, to put myself in a position to share it and empower other Christians to take ownership of their history in the same way and be able to know where their roots are and where they came from.
How has being connected to this local congregation really been meaningful for you in the last year and a half or so?
It's been really meaningful, especially in the context of being a student and studying, because being at NBBC has allowed me to see God working through an authentic relational community. The people here are warm, they're kind, they care, and they go out of their way to know you and to share in your life and to make you feel like you're really a part of this family that is, Jesus' family. And everyone here works with one another to, use their gifts for the church, and I feel like my weaknesses are supported here by the gifts of other people. So it's been really meaningful to see where my skills lie and where I need to admit that I need help. And it's not just enough for me as both a young Christian and a student to say, I learned some things, I check off the boxes, I can parrot things back, but I need to live the things, and like I mentioned before, take ownership of my faith and the things that I'm learning and how to do it.
Not just learning
Yeah,
something.
I'm not just learning things and filing things away. I'm
Yeah.
actively putting my learning into practice. And
Awesome.
it's even more meaningful for me to be working with the youth group because
Mm.
growing up, I was always slightly too young for the local demographics to engage in an effective youth ministry. I was always the odd one out, the little straggler that they give a
The
coloring
one left
book to.
behind.
Exactly. So for me to now come and work with the youth has put me in a position where, seemingly counterintuitively,
Yeah.
because I know what I lacked growing up, I can say, okay, what can I bring to the youth group experience to make these young people feel included, or to make them feel like, this is a place where they belong and that they look forward to coming back to and seeing their friends and learning about God.
Where in the last year, 2021, have you really seen God at work in your life?
I think I've seen God working in my life to really kind of soften my edges.
Okay.
And
A lot of sharp edges?
yeah,
Or lots of
I used
corners?
to, and I'm a little bit rounder now, and I hope I
What
don't want
are
to
we-
get too much
What are
more
we talking
rounder.
about? Yeah, that's right.
But growing up, or at least what I've noticed about myself, is I used to be a very rigid person
Okay.
who didn't like disruption and change, and things had to go a certain way
Sure.
in terms of, I've made these plans or I have this expectation and now something's disrupting it.
Okay, yeah.
I have seen God work to take me from being a person who, is so, for a lack of a better word, premeditated and careful and
Yeah,
methodical about
okay.
things too.
Which is a good quality,
Yeah,
for sure.
it was good, but to be too extreme in it
Right.
made it so that, when I would face disruptions,
Yeah, chaos.
it'd be the end of the
literally.
world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So by coming to places like Chaos, it's put me in a position where God has taught me to just kind of go with the flow. Again, for a lack of a better word,
Yeah.
I am focused on being in the moment.
Good.
I am no longer concerned with things like, my plan. I mean, it's good to be concerned with planning
For
and
sure.
schedule and staying on
Absolutely,
top
yeah.
of your business,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
is not the be-all, end-all. If
Yeah.
I need to dedicate more time to a certain aspect of, be it my schooling or my ministry,
Mm-hmm.
and I can feel the call inside me to do it. I know there's things that, 120 things on a big stack to do, but God has worked in me to kind of grip my attention and say, okay, Hannes, this is where you need to be right now.
Mm-hmm. In
This
the
is-
moment. and
exactly.
Be present.
Yeah, this is where you need to be relational
Yeah.
and, put aside your own nonsense for a minute and do the work that I've called you to do in the moment.
Thirdly, just the last question, just to wrap up our time in this God story is, what do you hope for in the future, whether it's at NBBC or the things that you're looking forward to, whether in schooling or in life? What are a few things that you're hoping for in the future?
So some things that I hope for my future particularly is that I hope God continues to guide me towards my strengths and support me in my weaknesses. How he brings me to this community of believers where each has their own gifts to, do his work. And, there's the phrase, it takes a village and things like that, where
It's the body of Christ
exactly,
working
where
together.
the body
yeah.
of Christ working together. And so I hope that NBBC, continues to grow as this place of people working together. I mean, I came to the congregational meeting last night, and I'm not as financially literate as I should be for
Sure.
a 23-year-old,
Yeah.
but it made sense
Yeah.
seeing the discussion that was having of the plans being made to continue to grow and, have focused ministry that's not just, waiting for people to come to us, but going
Right.
out into the world and meeting people. So
That's great.
I hope that NBBC continues to be a place like that. And Merv aptly described it yesterday, a place where, the tired can come and feel rest without shame, and that the energetic and those who are ready to work for God can come and work without becoming too tired and becoming the weary.
Yeah, exactly.
And that it just continues to grow as this relational community that draws people in and sends people outward, and draws people in and sends people outward. And that's, it's done through all these people, but it's done on God's power and God's Spirit.
It's amazing. So, Hannes, thank you so much for sharing today a little bit of your story and where God's at work. And we look forward to 2022 of working alongside of you on God's mission together. So thanks for being here today.
As well. Thank you so much, Wayne. Thank you.
Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fight. In darkest nights, you were close like no other. I've known you as a father, known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I am able,
Yeah, well, as you know, I was never really a Bible-y or churchy person. Moved to the area and wanted to get involved with the community.
Awesome.
And wanted to try to find a way. Here's the church, it's so near. I just don't want to go to service, but I want to be able to use the building itself. So I would send, I work with international students, and I would send some international students here to acquire their community hours, but they weren't, they weren't going to church, and this certainly wasn't their religion. And then I started doing a bread program at this church, and again, I still wasn't a churchy or Bible-y person, but over time, with the church constantly offering the building, even though I'm not a member, it was such a Christian attitude. It wasn't about Bible pushing. It wasn't about, hey, you're going to come to church on Sunday. It was just, letting me be who I am and being sharing this with the community. And then over time, as I learned more and more, because with NBBC, they lead more by example. I could see that, with the pastors. And then with bread night, we could ask questions. Me and my volunteers, we could ask questions, and it was always just amazing. And then I guess it was just a little bit at a time, and suddenly here I am, and I'm praying, and I'm learning about the Bible, and I'm going to church, and everything's changed.
Yeah. So what I've seen in you, you have a lot of different gifts and abilities, and one of them is community building. So why don't you share a little bit about what you've done in the Tansley area, because I know you've moved in and you're just over here on another street just close to the church. Share a little bit about your heart and your motive towards just connecting with community and building community.
Well, I've always felt that, community, if you have a happy community, you have a safer community as well. And inclusiveness, and there's so many people out there without, and we have people that aren't from the community and people that don't have family. And, for me, communication and connection is so important. So, with NBBC offering this space, it's really allowed me to bring in, so many things to the community. And as far as the bread program on Wednesday night, or we have the Facebook group of our Tansley Woods and surrounding neighbors.
It's an amazing thing, because I don't know if you knew or have been told lately, but a lot of what NBBC has been about is building community and reaching into our neighborhood. So the mission that you feel like you have in your heart when you first came here is exactly what NBBC has been attempting to do and been doing in different neighborhoods around. And so what an opportunity to align those two missions.
Well, for sure. And the neatest thing is that, like I said, it was, because I moved in 6.5 years ago.
Right.
So it was a lot of little baby steps, and a lot of baby steps, because, my history of religion was you should fear God. And how could you, he gave up his life for you. How could you ask for anything else? And you should be a martyr, and you shouldn't be happy. How could you be happy? And the thing about NBBC is slowly I'm learning and I'm seeing, and I'd come in and volunteer, and I could hear a little bit of sermon, or I'll go online and listen to the sermon a bit just sneak in a little bit. And I'm learning about, no, that is not, it is so misconstrued about being in fear of God. Of course not. It's who is God, and who is Jesus, and what is the purpose, and what are you supposed to do? So for me, slowly over time and slowly asking questions, and then I got involved in the Alpha program.
Awesome.
Well, this Alpha program, I mean, the first night, I wanted to go home and search through all the videos so I could watch it in advance. And I said, no, I'm going to slow down a bit, because I'm taking it with a group of people.
One video at a time.
One video at a time. And as this is ending, I'm feeling so sad, because it's but the lessons. And so how it was explained to me is this. It's your parent going to the restaurant, paying the bill in advance.
Right.
You just go and enjoy, because the bills have been paid. And one thing that I did is I constantly lived in the past. I constantly berated myself, how could you do this? Or how could you say this? Or you hurt somebody's feelings? Or, maybe you were a little bit greedy. And so I learned to just be a martyr, not to enjoy anything, give everything away. And so the Alpha program taught me a lot that's not the case. Forgiveness
of yourself.
Absolutely. And you have been forgiven.
Yeah.
So let it go.
Yeah.
Don't let that consume your mind. Think about what you're going to do tomorrow. What is your mission?
There's freedom almost in that, right? Knowing
Absolutely.
that everything has been forgiven. So
See, as a young girl, I would go to Catholic church, very strict. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should this, you go and you confess to the priest. And you got to try to find things to make up, to tell the priest that you're forgiving, about.
a
And it
sense
was
of religion, really.
a
like
sense of
pleasing
religion.
man.
Yes, absolutely. But when I learned about who is God, what is the purpose, and slowly I just started finding my way, and I'm so full of life, and I'm so full of purpose. I'm not just going in day by day, but creating more of a fulfilled life. And if you follow the rules, the guides within the Bible that's there, you will be guided.
And experience joy and peace in
And
life.
experience joy and peace, and you don't need
Doesn't
all
make
this
it any
anxiety.
easier, though. I think you still have trouble. Struggles.
Challenges happen,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
But my church is my community now. So I'm not going through this alone.
Yeah,
And I'm not a bad person because something bad is happening.
right.
And so this is all about what I'm learning about, Christ and happiness that he wants for you. And that you're not alone, and you're not meant to be alone.
Yeah.
I never ask for help for anything because, with people, it's after what I've done for you.
Right. You owe me now.
Yeah, you owe me now.
Yeah.
And so the neatest thing is when I'm learning about Christ and I'm realizing, hold it, God gave his son, but it's not you owe me now. There's
Right.
no you owe me nows, right?
Now you have to do this.
Or you
you're
have to
not-
do
yeah, yeah,
this.
Yeah.
You have a certain parameter
Yeah, of
that
course, rules or boundaries,
boundaries. And I find that working within them,
Yeah.
I'm now okay with asking for help, because if I'm asking for help and I'm giving help to others, if somebody's offered to help me with anything, I'm not really indebted to them because they didn't have to. It's not a contract that, you're going to help
like
me and I'm going to do
owe
this.
Whatever. Yeah.
So living more Christ-like takes away those thoughts of exclusion rather than inclusion.
Right. Yeah. What do you hope for the future for maybe this church or the community or for yourself? What are some things going into 2022 that are just like, this is what I really hope for and long for?
Yes, well, I've always been about community. Like, I just love helping people and, random acts of kindness, bringing people together. I'd like to bring awareness to, even adults do get bullied.
For sure.
And to find ways of solving issues like that and getting people to be more community-minded. And so I'd love to be able to, facilitate some personal growth programs and help people with resumes and job finding and, just anything that can help our community. I'm certainly,
Awesome.
yeah.
I can just see that you would be using your gifts the way that God's created you to benefit other people in the community. I think that's a great thing. Well, it's been certainly great to hear your story today, and
Thank
we look
you.
forward to more about hearing about your stories in the upcoming years and stuff like that. So thank you for joining us today and for sharing your story.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us here on December 26th, Boxing Day, where we're telling stories of where we've seen God at work. Shell and I are so delighted to be able to share with you both personally as well as how we've seen God at work here at the church. And it's been a year of many shifts and changes, and many wise decisions would have been needing to be made, and because they affect so many people, whether they would have joined us online or in person.
Yeah, Wayne, I think when I look at our Sunday morning gatherings, you've had to, sorry, Merv, I'm using the word pivot multiple times throughout this past year. Wow, that feels like a long time, this year?
Yeah, this year plus some, yeah.
Yeah, where we went from strictly online
Mm-hmm.
and then online with the tech team in the room and that. So tell us a little bit behind the scenes that people wouldn't be able to see. What happens?
Yeah, certainly there's been a large group, maybe 15 or more people committed on some rotation. Some people every week for the last year have been committed to a role on the tech teams, and we're so grateful for them. We say it a lot, but it means a lot to have so many being able to provide an ongoing and increasing, hopefully in quality, production online so that people can really sense that we're together. And that's our hope, is not so much to produce a production, but to give the sense that we're all in this together, and that Yeah, and I in inviting people even to the church, one of the highlights for me is just being able to see the power of being together. I don't know about you, but Michelle, you've been on the worship team too, just having people in the room singing or even physically present, although we can't see their faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a hard thing when you're leading, but at least there's that physical presence and singing in the room.
Yeah, we've gone from watching at home in our jammies and chatting with our church family online to being in person and being able to see some of our friends and church family. And then we got the kids back on Sunday mornings and had program for them. So it's feeling probably as normal as it can feel right now when we're in the church building.
Yeah. And a lot of this has been a product of the board wanting to move in a certain direction, and not just my ideas, but people supporting them, as well as a CBOQ grant that has been helping us. We created a production booth that kind of keeps that all rolling in the right direction. So
what is a production booth?
Production booth just incorporates 2 roles that need to talk in the room. So the production manager will just communicate to all the people, so sound people, camera people, and then there's a live switcher that sits next to him or her, and they basically send out to the cyberspace, the internet, what happens on a Sunday morning.
Right. So we've got this like kind of soundproof booth that they're back there doing all that tech magic that I know nothing about. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, sometimes I don't even know all about it, but we definitely have been learning lots, and all the gear that we have. Looking forward to the future, 2022, I think we have great opportunities to have lots of younger folks to come in to learn, and maybe even some older folks that just are intrigued by it. And it's an opportunity to bring people in to serve, to learn some things, and then also to work together on team.
Well, we also use the tech not for Sunday morning, but you did a tech camp this year.
That's right.
For junior highs.
Yeah, so this tech camp in the summer was a great opportunity to use some of our gear as the teleprompters and cameras and switching to provide the online thing for the parents at the end of the week as well, for multiple camps in the summer. So just a great opportunity to train some young people, have them in and to have them, find a place to belong where they can learn and serve with others. So
yeah, I know as a staff, we've talked quite often about this idea of what do we have in our hands or what do we have as NBBC that can be used. So we have all this gear and we have kids who are growing up in a tech world like never before. So let's draw them in, build relationship with them, and show them some cool, like, who doesn't want to sit there with a camera with an in-ear monitor and
on a Sunday morning.
Right.
For sure.
So it's been a good thing.
Yeah. So we're so thankful for those that have been involved and for those that will get involved in 2022 in regards to some of these areas. I know you get lots of calls during the week of when's your service starting?
Yeah, it's been crazy the last few months of how many people say, I moved into Burlington or Oakville just before the pandemic and I'm ready to start finding a home church. How do I register? So I've been able to connect with them on the phone or by email, or they've popped into the office, and we're seeing them come regularly to our church. So, and it's old, it's young families, it's singles, and it's just thrilling on Sunday when I walk up to somebody and say, are you this person that called in this week? And they're like, yeah. And we've been able to connect with them. So
sometimes I sense when people come back, they're going to be like, oh, this is a different church. Lots of new people.
There's lots of new faces.
Yeah, lots of new faces to get to know for sure.
Yeah. One thing I think in the office too, I just want to say is our church has been faithful in giving. I don't see the contributions that come in, like individual names and that. But I see what's coming through the office, and you have been faithful in giving throughout this, and we are so appreciative for that. We're talking a lot about the good things that we've seen and the God stories and where we see God working in 2021. But I like to be real and honest, and 2021 has not been an easy year for many different reasons. But Wayne, can you just maybe touch on more personally maybe some struggle or that you've had this year and where you see God walking along?
Yeah, certainly 2021 has been a year of what I can call just get tiring, and the grind. And obviously, when you get tired, things can fall aside that matter to you. And so I just have sensed that my mind and my heart have grown tired, and there's a deep need for rejuvenation. And I'm not afraid to say it because I know that it's true. And maybe you're there as well. And we should be mindful that our earth has seasons as well. And so we shouldn't think that we don't have seasons as human beings and need time to rejuvenate, whether it's age or wealth, whether it's intellect or your health. All things have a season. And may God direct each of us in and out of every season that we find ourselves in. And yeah, just seeing God work in my life, knowing that I needed to depend on others and on God to pull me through those seasons, or at least to understand and support as we go through maybe winter seasons or fall seasons and see things being stripped away and needing to come and be sitting with God through the winter, waiting, and then seeing how he might in the spring grow new things, and then in the summer to reap a harvest. So I really do believe that around here and in our communities and even in our own hearts, that God will bring in a harvest in 2022 if we do not give up. It reminds me of that verse that we don't labor in vain, but we know that with God, if we do not give up, the harvest will come.
You know, you're going on this educational sabbatical for 4 months, and we were talking as a staff, how does that affect our family? And because we both work here at the church and so much of our life is here, and the staff suggested that I take kind of a mini sabbatical as well, and that they would have zero expectations of me on Sundays, and actually encouraged me not to serve. I have plans that maybe you'll cook supper more often during those 4 months.
Absolutely. We might be going hungry.
No.
No.
I
enjoy cooking
Oh, you do?
when I have time.
That's great. That's great. You know, I was thinking back to this past year, and there was one moment that really sticks out in my mind. And I think you and I can tend to be really busy and doing a lot of things. And with COVID, it took a lot of that away. And it's almost like in some areas, we just went deeper as opposed to being so spread out. And I was blessed to go away with some girlfriends in the fall. And there was one moment where I was sitting with a dear friend on a dock up north, and it was just a beautiful day. And we were talking about how much God just loves us and how he gifts us each other. And that's him saying, I love you, and here's a friend that's going to walk with you and be beside you and encourage you. And it was just a beautiful moment of being like, wow, I'm loved. She is loved and you are loved. And you watching this are loved by a God who knows everything that is going on in your heart and your life around you. He knows what 2022 will hold for us, the challenges and the triumphs that we will see. And he loves us. And you often say at the end of our gatherings, know that you're not alone. You're not alone. No matter what 2022 brings, you are not alone.
Should be a preacher.
Why don't we pray together as we wrap up our service today?
That'd be great.
Father, we come to you with, I want to use the word chaos when we look back at 2021. The amount of times that we have had to alter our path, hear that we're going backwards, it feels like. Just so many things, and we thought the end was in sight, and now there's a new variant and we don't know what the future is going to bring. What we do know, what we can base our faith and our hope upon, is that you are unchanging. You are steadfast. You are our rock and our foundation that we can build our life upon. And so we lift our eyes to you, the author and perfecter of our faith. We lift our hearts to you, the one that we can trust with ourselves completely. We lift our spirits to you and say, you are good and we want to glorify you. And as we enter into a new year, God, we offer ourselves up as living sacrifices. We offer our church family up saying, God, you know the path that we should take. Would you make that clear to us and give us the courage to walk in that path? And we just want to thank you for your goodness. We want to thank you for your love and your blessings that are so undeserved by us. But we give you praise and glory. Amen.
Grand wrath is quake before, moved by the sound of his voice. Seas that are shaken and stirred can be calmed and broken for my regard. Through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well. Through it all, my eyes are on you. It is well with me. Far be it from me to not believe, even when my eyes can't see. And this mountain that's in front of me will be thrown into the midst of the sea. Through it all, my eyes are on you. Through it all, it is well. Through it all, my eyes are on you. It is well. It is well. me.